We'll be fine in a second.
This week's sweet deal of the week is from Scotty's Cafe and Grill. Beginning this Friday,
I believe now we should be fine. Extra point.
Certificate to Scotty's Cafe and Grill. $5.
Weird. I got it live. Hold on. Here it is. We're good, Dave. We're good, Dave. Weird. I got it live. Hold on. Here it is. We're good, Dave. We're good, Dave. Weird. I got it live. Hold on. Here it is. We're good, Dave. We're good, Dave. Hanging live from Pro Swing, Forest Drive in Columbia. It's the extra point there for Hanging. Central golfer.
Yeah, I like the golf. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Any good at it?
You know, I used to be a lot worse, and then I got decent enough to play and feel confident playing in the the Birdies with Beamer last year for the first time. So I was like, you know, if I could do it and play with these guys, I feel okay. Like, so
Really?
yeah, so that was fun.
Yeah. So how many hours did it take you to play 18?
Here's the thing: we didn't even finish.
That's right.
18.
The weather.
Yeah,
That's right. It was the weather.
Dude, the weather was terrible. So we got to I think the 11th hole, and it started downpouring. And then they called it.
I'm not a golfer. Not my
No,
thing.
no.
Yeah, not a golfer.
Do you like to watch?
I'll watch the majors
Yeah.
because but I'm not going to watch like the Des Moines Open.
No,
I'm not doing that.
Not the same here.
I'll have the majors on, but I'll say this: I'm not a golf guy, but as a sports fan or a consumer of sports television,
Oh yeah.
I think that for what a golf going out and playing golf is, it's slow, right?
Yeah.
But the way they give you the television production, how quick they make it fast and going from shot to shot, player to player, to hole to hole. I think they do a nice job with it production-wise to keep it fast-paced.
Mhm.
I really do. I sit back because I love baseball. I'm a baseball guy. I'm like, is there any way baseball can do this? Just to cut real quick, just cut out I'm going to take 5 minutes to scratch and sniff and do all these things. Even though the pitch clock made the game much crisper, but still the way golf produces. Just the majors I watch. I go, you know what? You guys do a pretty nice job of making this thing much more fast-paced than a real golf tournament is.
Watching the Masters and all these different tournaments, and again, CBS does a great job. ESPN's pretty good. I mean, they have it all down to where, like you said, they just flip around to different guys and stuff. And even now, I mean, you go to ESPN for the Masters and stuff, you can watch just who you want. I'm sure it's the same way for the PGA and stuff.
It's funny. Jonathan Vegas leading the PGA. It was great. Sports Center, they couldn't help it. Johnny Vegas. Johnny Vegas. Johnny Vegas is leading. Johnny Vegas.
Gotta spice it up.
Yeah, Jonathan Vegas, his best round ever at a major. He went 7 under, and we'll see what happens
Wow.
today in round 2 from Charlotte at the PGA Championship. And we're here, obviously, at Pro Swing, celebrating another major week with our buddies here at Pro Swing. Again, golf simulators, if you just want to come out and have fun and play around the golf, you can do that. If you want to fine-tune your swing, you can do that because they do swing analysis. And there's analytics that come up on this screen, Jack, that you go, oh, my God.
This place is fantastic.
It is. Like I said, if you're just a golfer who wants to have some fun, if you're really into improving your game, whatever level you are at golf, whatever interest, they have it here for Pro Swing. All right, so Dave, get ready. Paul Mainieri last night, meeting with the media post-game, obviously a very happy post-game. And first of all, we'll hear Paul Mainieri. Let's go with cut 3. I think this is interesting, Dave. And this goes to some of the philosophies of hitting and some of the things that have changed this year that we talked about for the good, the bad, the good, and the ugly. Let's get cut 3 about giving Chase Woda the green light on 3-0. Hit it, Dave.
Yeah, it's a 3-0 pitch, and I gave him an emphatic green light. I thought he might hit one out to end the game right there. And, we're starting to get towards the bottom of our lineup, too. So, I thought back to the first 2 innings of the game. We got 5 free passes with nobody out and scored 1 run with 5 guys getting on base with nobody out via the walk or hit back. Somebody has to eventually hit the ball to get you. Well, unless they throw a wild pitch to end the game, I guess. You hate to count on that. You need to hit your way to victory. I just thought Jay said this. He might one swing could have ended the game, and it almost did.
Yeah, it's interesting. When 3-0 works, we all go, yeah, man, way to be aggressive. When you're swinging a ball out of the zone 3-0 and you hit a worm burner in the first base and you tag the bag and things over, like, why swing that pitch 3-0, dude? First, to me, 3-0 is a very situational moment if you're going to give a guy a green light or not, right? Game situation. Like, let's say if Woda's leading off the inning, you're down by a run. No, you're not swinging 3-0. You want to get a one. You're taking a strike in that situation, most likely. So, situationally, I get where Mainieri was going. We got to get that run in. He's 3-0. I'm hoping he's going to do some damage to base. So I get that 3-0. But then it goes to the hitter, Jack, so much. 3-0 doesn't mean automatically swing, bro. 3-0 means you got the green light. If you get a pitch or hit, like we've been talking about, you get the pitch to hunt that you can hit, swing. But if not, don't swing at it. Just because it's thrown doesn't mean you got to swing, or just because it's a strike, you don't mean you have to swing. If it's a 3-0 pitch in your sweet spot, hammer the bleeping thing, right? So 3-0 is a very deep dive conversation, right?
It is. And it's something that, not everyone is for doing. It takes certain coaches to pull the trigger there in that situation. Most guys would be okay with the walk, but what do we know about Paul Mainieri? The guy does not like to walk. Yeah. And, he's adamant about that. So giving a guy the green light on a 3-0 pitch, not surprised one bit. And it worked out last night. And, like I was saying in the last segment, like when he hit the ball, at our angle in the press box, it was just, I'm going to be honest. And it just kept carrying. I'm not going to get out of there, is it? And I did not see a replay, but the ball, I guess, off the top of the wall, it's a weird bounce. And Chase Woda, for all intents and purposes, is not your speed demon.
No.
He's your big. I'm trying to remember what the guys said last night about him. I'll try to pull the quote, but the guys in the dugout apparently were saying unhook the trailer for Chase, and he's a big dude, but he was hustling down to third, and what a big spot that was to get a triple there. Of all guys to get a triple, was definitely not expecting him, but really good spot there, and then once again it sets up perfectly for South Carolina to cash in with one.
Yeah, and the thing too with the one thing about it, again, going back to the 3-0 on the green light, I'm so torn on stuff like this because again, it is on the hitter then to be selective 3-0, right? You're given a green light because you trust your hitter in the situation, and really, me, if I'm coaching, I'm probably not giving you a green light. I want a base runner, but I get Mainieri's also. You heard him. And there's a part of me that what we miss in today's baseball, managing in the majors, and I think coaching in some ways in college too, we are so married now to the book of analytics, right, Jack?
Oh yeah.
Everything's about the analytics. And when you manage with your gut, let's look at the major leagues real quick. When you manage with your gut and you're wrong, hell rains down upon you, right?
Hmm.
You went away from the analytics. You went with your gut. I miss the dudes that would manage with their gut at times in a situation. You heard Maneri there, and of course we're happy because it works, right? Um, if Woda swings a pitch out of the zone 3-1, gets a strike, ends up striking out, we're going, well, what are we doing here? But because it works, where you're like, yeah, man, way to go with your gut. Well, I do miss the days of the old school manager who did manage with the gut. Like
Yeah.
today, the 18 guys, the 18 guy likes to believe. I don't care if the 18 guy strikes out the side in 9 pitches. He's not coming up for the ninth.
Yeah.
Now, in the old days, a manager might go, you can't hit this guy. Bring him back to start the ninth. I'm going to warm my clothes up. And if the first time I see trouble, I'll take him out.
That's what you should be doing.
But today's, that's what I was kind of, and again, because it works, it was kind of like cool to hear Maneri was like, look, here's the situation I was thinking. Earlier in the game, we had 5 walks, couldn't cash anything in. We weren't getting some of that done. I felt in my gut, I'm going to give him a green light 3-0 and see if we can make something happen. And guess what? It happened.
It worked out perfectly. And again, more times than not, guys might just not have command, but when these guys are throwing 95, I mean, LSU was pretty much hitting the zone most of the night, aside from those early innings there. I mean, trying to get a fastball over there, the get me over fastball on a 3-0 pitch. I mean, you have the green light on that. That's probably what you're expecting. That's what happened last night, where Voit was able to hit the ball for a triple. But again, you could say it's risky or whatever, but it's like at that point in the game, South Carolina's down by a run. They really don't have much to lose, to be honest, doing it either way, because once again, they were 5-22 in the SEC coming into the game last night. You might as well take a chance there, and it paid off.
It would also, and you heard Maneri say the bottom of the order was coming up.
Yeah.
And again, not to be me, the way this game had played out, you saw where the bottom of the order was. And so Maneri's like, I got my best hitter coming up. I'm gonna give him a green light, maybe he'll walk into something.
Yeah, exactly.
So again, it's that thinking about where you're at with your lineup, thinking about just that moment of the game and the flow of the game and the momentum of the game. Where with baseball says, take dare till you get a strike, get a base runner. Maneri's like, look, I see the rest of my batting order. I'm gonna let this guy take a hack, and if he gets something, maybe we can do some damage. It worked.
Yeah, it did work last night. And to be fair, I mean, South Carolina probably could have won the game with Nathan Hall up at bat a few batters later. I think at the time, Voida had pinch hit for Gavin Braylon, who we know, let's be honest, he's a freshman, but he's also kind of like almost an automatic out at this point. I mean, the guy will either hit into a double play, strike out, or maybe have the occasional hit. But you're having the bottom of the order up there, and then you get Nate Hall up, and he hits that ball that Jared Jones took a diving catch on.
Phenomenal.
Great play. But then he takes a little bit of luck there with that wild pitch to get the run in.
Extra Point live at Pro Swing on Forest Drive in Columbia. We'll talk more about the great things going on here. And we will switch some gears a little bit. Softball's got something going on. We'll take a minute there and see what's going on in the NCAA tournament with the softball team. That's next here on the Extra Point in the game. Oh, what you're talking about, what we're talking about, what everybody's talking about is a really nice Carolina win last night over top-ranked LSU. A come-from-behind win, 6-5. Josh Scobie had the huge, one of the huge hits last night. Let's get to it, Dave. Cut 2, in case you missed it. Here is the Scobie game-tying home run in the bottom of the ninth.
This ball is blasted to left. Is it out of here? It is! KJ Scobie has tied it up at the bottom of the ninth. I tell you what, as a freshman, that has to be one of the best feelings.
KJ Scobie with the grand slam. And I'm just going to skip over that analysis. Just move on. Just going to move on there. Anyway, KJ Scobie with the tying home run in the bottom ninth. And Dave, let's get the cut of KJ Scobie post game, describing what he was looking for in that moment at the plate.
Just watching the guy to my left here, KJ Scobie, is a true freshman. Playing through the whole year, starting out every game basically. And just watching his growth as a player. And seeing now this last couple of weeks, he's really been swinging the bat great. He swung the bat well down at Auburn. The game-tying home run today in the ninth inning. Don't forget his sacrifice fly off of Newt when he came into the game. That was a huge swing too. So Scope is just, he's developing into a really outstanding player, just like I thought he would.
And there's Maneri talking about KJ Scobie. And like you said, Scobie's really gotten it going lately offensively.
Yeah, 5 hits in his last 9 at-bats. I didn't realize it was that good. And that doesn't even include the 3 home runs that he's hit. So really good at-bats lately. He's looking much more comfortable at the plate, it seems. And he seems to be fully broken out of that slump. And, man, he's been great this year,
like you said,
he?
And the power seems to be starting to come for this guy.
Which, for most of the year, he's hit a few balls very deep this season. But, 8 homers now. He's only 2 behind Ethan Petrie. And I know Ethan's been hurt these last few weeks here, and obviously last night and this weekend he won't be available. But having a guy like KJ in the lineup that is hitting towards the bottom of the order, he's hitting 8th in this order, Terry. So him providing that power at the bottom of the order that we talk about this team severely needs. It's a nice change of pace.
I was get to cut 6, Dave, with KJ Scobie describing that at bat when he smacks the game tying home run. KOC, KJ Scobie on his game-tying home run.
Yeah, honestly, I was sitting on a changeup. I kind of assumed it was coming. He's been throwing it a lot first pitch, so I took a good swing on it and was able to get it out.
Yeah, sitting on a change.
First pitch.
Scouting report was like, guy tries to, work the change early in the count. Scobie was sitting on it. And here's the thing, a lot of hitters will never guess because it just ties them in knots. They just go up there looking to hit fastball and adjust on breaking stuff, right?
Yeah.
But some hitters are more guess hitters or more they see a scouting report and in certain situations they go, well, this is where this guy likes to throw this certain pitch and early, in the bat. I'm going to sit on it. And if you get a change and you can get the bat head out to speed up your bat, you can hit that baby a long way, bro.
Dude, first pitch last night was he knew it. He knew that was coming, and just a great swing he put on that ball, and what a big home run in that game to get South Carolina going there, and just it took a lot of clutch moments last night to win that game. We talk about so much about the offense and what Scobie did, but a lot of nice outs recorded by this pitching staff. Ashton Crowther gave South Carolina a chance to win. So did Brandon Stone, and then you leave it up to the offense to come through, and they've been hitting the ball a lot better lately, and last night was very indicative of that.
And defensively, they made some plays.
But they've always been very strong defensively.
Yeah, and you go to Crowther real quick. Gave up the 2-run homer in the first inning, then settled down, only gave up one other earned run the rest of the way.
Yeah, and these are the 2 guys, Stone and Crowther, that you're going to be relying on in the SEC tournament. And it seems like Stone would be starting next Tuesday in Hoover, and both guys threw about 70. I think Crowther threw 79, and Stone threw 73 pitches last night. So both should be good to go, but very, very good outings for those guys last night. And, give up a little bit of damage, but enough to where it's like, all right, South Carolina's offense can make some runs here and come on through.
And we'll play the cut of Maneri talking about Stone, because he talked to Stone, I guess, post game about the 2 strike pitches that he left up in the zone, and they got hit, and the line Stone gave back to Maneri was at least it didn't get out of the park.
Yeah, very good line, actually.
Pretty good line. So we'll play that cut for you here in a little bit. All right, so switching off to, and we can't forget Matthew Becker, who
got
came out,
got that one out there.
got the out that they need. Came out lefty on lefty.
Yep.
And Becker got the out.
Yep, big out there, and definitely kept the game where it needed to be. Again, LSU had chances to break this game open, but base running blunders and other mistakes and not coming through in clutch situations kind of left the door open for South Carolina to do something.
LSU had a combination of hits and walks, 15 base runners between hits and walks last night.
Yeah.
And they had their issues, like you said, cashing in. All right, so the women, the softball team, Elon, the regionals this weekend, if everything plays the chalk, they'll get a Virginia team. They had 2 games with Virginia early Live from Pro Swing, Forest Drive in Columbia. Extra point, Terry Ford, Jack Veltri. By the way, here at Pro Swing, Jack, a free 30-minute swing evaluation with a PGA Pro.
Like,
Maybe it's Rory McIlroy. No.
well, maybe not after yesterday, but
Right.
maybe not from like all the great pros, Scotty, Rory, all the guys that had really rough days yesterday.
How about
but
yesterday? All the guys that are like you look
Yeah.
at the best golfers in the world, and they were all struggling yesterday.
You know, how hard must that first tournament be back after the Masters, winning it for Rory? I mean, the guy gets a long, hard, like monkey off his back,
Mm-hmm.
and then he has to go back out there and kind of like reset, relock into play, and that's got to be tough, man.
And plus, too, is he sober yet from winning the Masters?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if the hype from that is died down.
Yeah,
yet.
I mean that's the
But-
thing. We talked about this with Rory, and you don't. And this question you can't answer. Does this kick in a second wave of his career where he starts winning majors again, or is it this? Ready? I got the career Grand Slam, baby. I got a lot of money in the bank. I'm a Hall of Famer. I'm still a pretty young dude. Let's have some fun.
But he's had
We'll see.
But he's had a great year, though. I mean, he
Mhm.
had already won, I think, twice coming into the Masters, and then obviously won the Masters.
Mhm.
I mean, shoot,
We'll see. We'll see where he
a
goes.
few more majors, including this weekend, still on the table for him to go out there.
Golf
and win
is an
another.
interesting sport because it's such from the neck up, right? And obviously you have to practice billions of hours to be. That's why I just can't play golf. It just drives me insane.
Takes a lot.
Yeah, it takes a lot. I have things to do.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. But sometimes you'll see guys they'll reach certain pinnacles
Yeah.
and then they'll go, you know what? I'm still going to go ahead and try. I'm gonna bust my butt to win, but maybe some of that extra dog in them that was there to get to that certain place. Yeah, maybe one of those dogs kind of like goes and lays down for a little while. Just saying, we'll see. Or some guys kick into another wave of their career and they start winning more majors, and maybe that'll be Rory. Because let's face it, he arguably is the most talented guy on the tour.
He's only 35.
I know.
And I think we're heading. We'll see how everything shakes out the rest of the year, but I think we're heading towards a little bit of a renaissance here. I mean,
We'll see.
so it's been a while since he had won a major, but he got it off
Long
his back.
time.
And that helps.
And it might. We'll see where he goes, which direction this goes with Rory McIlroy. But yeah, Rory and also Scotty Scheffler struggled yesterday. It was a struggle for people yesterday. Absolutely.
Even the pros struggle.
Absolutely. And by the way, they have lessons here at Pro Swing. Different lesson packages. Doesn't matter if you're just wanting to start playing golf. Maybe you're a 3 handicap, somewhere in between. If you want to get better, check in here with the folks at Pro Swing. All right. So in our final segment of the hour, I want to something interesting happened. And I just touched on it yesterday during the halftime show and didn't really dig into it. Caleb Williams, a book, Seth Wickersham, who's a phenomenal writer, does a lot of work for ESPN. He used to write like in-depth, deep dive investigative pieces. And Seth is really good. And a book is coming out about quarterbacks from high school, college, pro, the whole spiel. And one of the focuses is Caleb Williams when he was coming out of Southern Cal and going into the draft, first pick overall. Did not want to go to the Bears. And I guess yesterday I was focused more on I don't blame him, because that's where, like his dad said, that's where quarterbacks' careers go to die. And it's legit. Ask Justin Fields, ask Mitch Trubisky, ask about another billion quarterbacks since Sid Luckman of the 1940s. So I kind of looked at that angle, and from the perspective of the Williams family, I get it. I mean, this is your son. You want him to go to the best spot possible to succeed and to thrive and to flourish. And if you're looking at it just in totality, Chicago ain't the place, right?
No, I mean, the coaching situation. That's why Matt Eberflus got fired midseason last year. I mean, the coaching situation there, not ideal for a rookie quarterback. And you look at the guys that were in there before, Justin Fields, Mitch Trubisky. I mean, the Browns are talked about as the place where quarterbacks go to die more times than not, but let's give the Bears a little bit of credit too.
Right.
They're also kind of on that trajectory a little
Bears
bit.
almost say, hold my beer. I can show you how to kill quarterbacks.
So you can't necessarily, I don't blame him necessarily for feeling that way. However, that being public knowledge now, that probably affects the team a little bit.
Well, that's where I want to go next. Is okay. You have a new head coach now in Ben Johnson, and a guy who's supposed to be, we see him as an offensive guru, what he did in Detroit when he was the OC and all that stuff. But even though that regime is gone, it still is the idea. Guys are in that locker room
Yeah.
from the get-go of Caleb Williams' career. Now, me, I'll just say me, if I'm in that locker room, I don't care. I'm like, dude, I get you. Quarterbacks come here and they stink and their careers get blown up. I understand your hesitation. Maybe you want to go to the UFL, the CFL, whatever. It wouldn't bother me if it was me in that locker room. I go, yeah, what my kids say, whatevs. But I can see guys in that locker room going, you want to be here? And if he struggles, or if you see anything that makes you feel like he's not all in, then you're like, still don't want to be here.
But I think
I don't know.
But I think the vibe is different now because Ben Johnson's in there,
Mhm.
and like Caleb seems excited about it.
Should be, right?
Yeah, should be. I mean, who wouldn't be excited about this? I feel like the Bears could head in a good direction here with Ben Johnson. May not be in year one here, but you have a second-year quarterback now. You're trying to take that next step. You have some good pieces on offense. I
Mhm.
mean, this team is not that far off from potentially turning into something a little bit good. It's just, can Caleb kind of take that next step? And I believe he will, with Ben Johnson leading the way as the head coach.
Well, I mean, Jack, good God, they've done everything possible. Look at the weapons on offense. They rebuilt the offensive line. They brought in an offensive, quote unquote, genius in Ben Johnson. You can't do more for Caleb Williams than they've done for him. Now it's on Caleb Williams to become the quarterback that they expect him to be, which is busting your butt and watching more film than Steven Spielberg, right? First guy, last guy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, now it's on Caleb Williams to become Peyton Manning, like Tom Brady, like Patrick Mahomes, like, and study the game from the inside out, not just the physical stuff. But you got to tweak your mechanics. There's so many things Caleb Williams, with all that talent, can still do to make himself what they want him to be. Now it's on Caleb. We got your receivers. We got you an offensive line. We got you a head coach who's an offensive dude. You saw what he did in Detroit with Jared Goff. Caleb, it's now truly on you. And now with this smoke coming out, now it goes, it's truly on you, dude, because this place you didn't want to be did everything now for you to make you successful.
It almost feels like a make or break year then in that sense, because, people read into everything.
Mhm.
And, if you're not doing well in the field, you're going to, people are going to take that and be like, oh, this guy doesn't want to be here. It's affecting his play on the field and stuff. Maybe
Mhm.
that's the problem. So you want to make sure he has a good year here. But again, he's got all the pieces in place. He's got the tools to still be a great quarterback.
And remember, coming in to the draft, there were, again, you're always looking to pick these dudes apart.
Yeah.
To be fair, one of the things was, does he have that in him to be great? Does he have that? Because that was one of the questions. He was so good, just naturally gifted in college,
Yeah.
right? But does he have that thing you got to have that the great ones have? And I'm talking about the innards. Does he have those innards to be the guy that they need him to be, because they've done everything to make him that guy?
Yeah. And is he going to be able to learn from what went wrong last year?
Mhm.
Take the next steps and develop.
Accountability.
Yes.
Because it wasn't all everybody else, Caleb. There was some
Nope.
you in there
Yeah,
too, brother.
So big year ahead.
Nice job, dude.
Yeah, thanks,
You're
man.
the man.
Appreciate it.
All right. Good hanging out with you this week, Jack
Yeah.
Elstree.
I'll miss you.
No, you won't, but that's okay. No, you won't. Tyler will be back next week to hang out with Jack on the Extra Point. We'll continue the Extra Point live from Pro Swing on Forest Drive in Columbia next here on The Game with Corey Parson. Talk some wagering. All right. Live from Pro Swing in Columbia Forest Drive. PGA Championships going. We'll get back into that as well. Day 2, round 2 of the PGA in Charlotte. Carolina, huge win in baseball last night over top-ranked LSU. The softball team will get going in the regional starting today against Elon. Now it's time to talk some wagering now. Our buddy Corey Parson. You're our wagering expert. Corey has never, ever, ever, ever put down a bet that was not successful in his entire life. We're going to go with that, Corey. We're just going to go with that, dude. Okay? You're undefeated.
All right, let's go with it. My pocket's not still undefeated, but we can go ahead and get it started.
Hey, my man. Obviously, the NFL schedule came out, and there are already early odds for week 1, even though we're sitting in May. Obviously, those are fluid. But as we sit looking at week 1, there's a couple of interesting May lines. What have you seen, or what are you seeing? I mean, first of all, the opener, Cowboys and Eagles. I mean, look, again, Philadelphia wins the Super Bowl. Dallas doesn't even make the playoffs. Right now, the Eagles are a touchdown favorite.
Yeah, this will probably close at a touchdown, 2 or somewhere around that. You know, Terry, this would be a good spot to take the Cowboys at 7.5. I would see this as a push. Philadelphia probably win the game by 7. Dak Prescott has been phenomenal against the NFC East, particularly against NFC East teams versus the spread. So that's the rub right here on this one. So that's how we kick things off. Philadelphia Eagles and the team formerly known as America's team, the Dallas Cowboys.
All right, so the other game in the NFC, both the biggest line, I think, and you tell me because you know more than I do. The biggest line right now as we speak is another NFC East clash with the Commanders, 7.5 point favorites against the Giants. Again, Commanders coming off a fantastic, surprising run to the NFC Championship game. The Giants, well, they're the Giants. They stunk. Is 7.5? I know we're sitting in May, but did you think that would be a higher number, or is it just the way it is once you start putting the lines out?
You know what? You got to expect anticipation from public bettors. Obviously, they expect the Commanders to make another jump this year, as they did last year under Jaden Daniels. Jaden was phenomenal last year. And then the Giants have been the Giants basically for the better part of the last decade. But one of the things about the Giants is they tend to always play the Commanders very tough. If you remember early in the season last year, I believe the Giants scored 3 touchdowns. The Commanders kicked 7 field goals and won the game.
Right.
That really happened. Matter of fact, I don't believe that's ever happened before. But, that is the reason why. But the Giants generally tend to play the Commanders very tough. I'll be careful with the Commanders this year, too. You know, the great Marty Schottenheimer once said, if you get a second-year quarterback to play as well as he did in his first year, consider that improvement. So you could see, some shaky moments from Daniels this upcoming year because we know how second-year quarterbacks tend to roll.
You make a great point on that, Corey, and we have evidence of that with C.J. Stroud. Even last year, Stroud, and it wasn't just Stroud, it was a lot of pieces around him as well, but Stroud was not as good in year 2 as he was in year 1, to your point.
Yeah, normally you'll have coaches will change, coaching changes come into play with stuff like that. Obviously, defenses get more familiar with the teams, the schedule gets a little bit tougher as well. So those are things that, and then the Texans last year, their offensive line wasn't as fluid as the year was before, and that plays a big role in these things too.
Corey Parson hanging out with us, our wagering guru, undefeated in wagering in his lifetime. I'm going to keep pushing that, dude, as people start believing it. Just saying.
Let's go for it.
All right. I think this game is very interesting, too. The Chiefs will travel. The Chargers have no home games. Let's just be honest. Chargers are in their home stadium. The Chiefs will come in with their fans and make it a Chief home game. Kansas City giving the Chargers 3 on the road. Though it's year 2 of Jim Harbaugh. I think Harbaugh was ahead of the game last year by getting the Chargers in the playoffs to begin with. But we know Harbaugh's excellent coach. Second year, Justin Herbert in with Harbaugh and that coaching staff. They've added some weapons to help out Herbert. But the Chiefs are the Chiefs. And right now in May, they're giving 3.
Yeah, this is one of the more interesting games on the schedule. I think the Chargers will probably beat the Chiefs in one of the 2 games they played during the regular season this year. They were able to draft very good. The running back situation is going to get better. That's what they like to do, run the football, pound the rock, keep games, concise and simple for Herbert. You know what Harbaugh is. You put a whistle around his neck and give him 12 guys. He's going to go out there and make them play well. So this is a spot where I would actually back the underdog right here, especially if I'm getting the hook. I would take the Chargers in this spot. Now, listen, I know it's only May. You don't know what happens throughout the course of the season, but the schedule was released yesterday, and we're talking betting today, and the NFL is king of that. So here we go.
That's right. Corey Parson talking some wagering here on the Extra Point on the game in Columbia, Florence, and Myrtle Beach. All right, the New England Patriots, who were god-awful last year, -3.5 versus the Vegas Raiders. Help me out with this one. I mean, again, Vegas, they got Geno Smith now. Vegas has added some pieces. There's a little bit. They got the biggest piece is Pete Carroll as the new head coach, a guy who won a ton in Seattle. Mike Vrabel won his share, not as much as Carroll, but Mike Vrabel was successful in Tennessee. Very interesting game. So much newness, Corey. A lot of newness here.
Yeah, and this is what you nailed absolutely on the head, Terry. This is not about the guys on the field. This is about the two gentlemen on the sideline. Pete Carroll versus Mike Vrabel. Both of these teams should see improvement in their wins this year. I think both of these teams go over their win total. This is one of the more fascinating games in week one because both of these teams should be competing for a playoff spot. Raiders in the very tough AFC West, and obviously New England trying to see what they can do with Buffalo and maybe even an improved Jets team this year. I would take the dog no matter which way it goes. This is probably a field goal game, if that could come down to 1 or 2 points in this game right here. So this is a game where you can see both of these teams are teams that you probably want to wager on this upcoming season because I think both of these teams will take a jump in their win totals.
You know what's interesting too, to me, with both Vrabel and Carroll, again, Vrabel's a lot younger. And people think Vrabel's going to automatically do what he did in Tennessee in New England. So push Vrabel to the side. But Pete Carroll's an interesting study here with a lot of people near the end of his tenure in Seattle thought it's like, Pete, start to hear that game is passing you by thing. And yeah, Pete won a Super Bowl and went to one, but now look, Pete might be the youngest. What is he, like 110 now, Corey? He might be the youngest old guy we've ever seen with energy and everything. Do you think Pete Carroll is going to – how much success do you think Pete Carroll will have in Vegas?
He's a program builder. So it's not so much about the success. It's about building a program. He can do what the last couple of guys that coached the Raiders couldn't do. He can get them in there, and he can build a program and bring respectability back to the silver and black. That's what I think Pete Carroll does. Let's turn and look at the NBA playoffs. The New York Knicks could have hired Tom Thibodeau years ago. But everybody talked about Thibodeau's attitude, and eventually the players sour on Thibodeau, and they turn on him. But he's building a program in New York now on the precipice of the Eastern Conference Finals. So I'm not to say that the Raiders are going to be in the AFC Championship game this year, but Pete Carroll is going to start putting the program in place. Now, is he going to be there when the program takes off? Likely not because of his age, but he will put the program in place.
Corey Parson talking wagering with us here on the Extra Points, live from Pro Swing on Forest Drive in Columbia on the game. All right, last one to look at before we move off to the Survivor pool. I love Survivor pools, by the way. All right, Panthers are getting 3.5 against the Jags. Here's the interesting storyline to me, Corey. It seems like you've got two quarterbacks who are going now in different directions. Bryce Young, once he got back in as a starter last season, showed improvement. All of a sudden, there's hope in Carolina that now that you have the right head coach in place in Dave Canales, a quarterback whisperer, so to speak. You've added some weapons. You added McMillan in the draft. You're trying to, give Bryce Young everything that you can give him to make him successful. People are feeling good about Bryce Young. Trevor Lawrence, it feels like that car is in reverse. I mean, Lawrence is going to be the quarterback there for a couple more seasons if you look at his contract and how everything breaks out. But it just feels like these two guys are being looked at. One seems to be getting his momentum forward, and the other, everybody thinks his momentum's falling backward. Is that fair?
That's 100% correct in your assessment of those two quarterbacks. Bryce Young is somebody that I would back for comeback player of the year this year. think Bryce Young is going to have a fantastic season, showing that he was the right pick. Now, for all the generational talent talk that we've heard about Trevor Lawrence back when he was coming up through Clemson and in the draft process, we've really seen bits and pieces of it, but not consistent enough to say that Trevor Lawrence is going to be that guy that can be a franchise quarterback. Now, don't get me wrong, there's been some bad coaching here and stuff like that, but we're not seeing a good performance from Lawrence. We're not seeing them put a good team around Lawrence. They got some of the wrong pieces in there. Trevor Lawrence really probably needs to be traded to really truly see what he is to an organization outside of Jacksonville. You see that week 1 game, Carolina's getting those 3.5 points. That's not going to be there come week 1 when it's time to really lock in for the game. It'll probably be 2.5. I would bet that the Carolina Panthers are going to go and win that game.
You know, it's interesting. Trevor Lawrence is on his 3rd head coach, Corey, to your point of an organization that can't get out of its own way. 3rd head coach. All right. Corey Parson talking some wagering. And now we're going to move on to the survivor pools, which I really love. All right. Survivor pool stuff. Give me a couple of these games that if you're doing survivor pool, you got your eye on in week 1.
Let me tell you what everybody's going to have their eye on. Obviously, still got plenty of time to make these decisions. I try to dig when everybody's gagging because everybody's trying to survive. I'm actually trying to win. And I can guarantee you, in most pools, at least 50% of the entries are going to be on the Denver Broncos to win straight up versus the Tennessee Titans. That's going to be a very popular selection. And to be 100% correct, why wouldn't it be? Denver coming off a great season last year. You know when Sean Payton is going to have that team prepared and ready to go. In Tennessee, there's still going to be some question marks, likely a rookie quarterback at the helm. So that's a good pick right there with the Broncos going to be home. But it's going to be very, very, very popular pick. Now, the other popular pick is going to be the Cleveland Browns with their quarterback situation versus Cincinnati Bengals. Cincinnati, 5.5 point road favorite. Terry, I've said this to you before. 5.5 point home underdog normally win the game outright. Last year, week 1, Cincinnati was a 5.5 point road favorite versus the New England Patriots. The Patriots won the game outright and eliminated close to 60% of people in survivor pools. I would not touch the Bengals in this spot.
That's a phenomenal stat. Hey, every now and then, even with Joe Burrow, the Bengals find a way to be the Bengals. Absolutely. All right, now I got a question.
Joe Burrow's career.
Yeah, I got a question for you. If you were to do today, you were picking your survivor pool choice. What would you take?
I would probably take the Commanders. From what I've seen so far, I would probably lean on in the Commanders. Now, I think it'll be a close game, but I would take the Commanders, kind of get that out the way because Washington's schedule does improve this year. You know what else that I find interesting on this schedule? The NFL will give you hints. The Pittsburgh Steelers, week 1 opponent, the New York Jets. I wonder who's going to be behind center for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I know. You feel like it's going to be Aaron Rodgers. You just feel like eventually that's going to play itself out, right?
Exactly. So that'll be a prime 4 o'clock America's game of the week. Aaron Rodgers versus his former team, if you want to call the New York Jets his former team.
Absolutely. Corey Parson talking wagering, gambling, and all sorts of different angles with us in the world of betting, especially on the NFL and college football. Corey, we appreciate you like always, my friend. You'll be back with Tyler next Friday at 10. Thanks, man.
Stuff. Looking forward to it, fellas.
All right, we'll see you now. Extra Point live from Pro Swing here on Forest Drive in Columbia. We will scoop back, continue to talk about it. Just a heck of a win last night for Carolina baseball against top-ranked LSU. We'll hear from Paul Mainieri some more thoughts from the head coach next here on the Extra Point on the Game. is. That's the game winner on the wild pitch as South Carolina gets a 6-5 victory over top-ranked LSU last night. Extra point live from Pro Swing, Forest Drive in Columbia. Dreamy Josh is hanging out with us. Now, the reason I brought you over here, because I know you're in the middle of an intense 18 holes. Where are you playing here on the simulator?
We're back where we were last show, hole 7, Pebble Beach.
To your Pebble
That's
Beach.
it. Just hole 7.
By the way, look at that view. How sick is
It's
that?
not bad.
Didn't the water actually, this is so real, the water actually sprays on you.
Yeah, there's dolphins.
Yeah.
Pork pie.
Yeah. All right. The reason I dragged you on here is that you're trying to have a little fun with Elijah
Yep.
about a hole in one. Because last time we were here, tell the story really quick.
Well, I mean, we have witnesses, so I'm not making this up.
Mm-hmm.
I just put it on Pebble Beach, hole 7, and we just went to town until we got a hole in one.
How many times did you tee off to get that
I
hole
can't
in
tell
one?
you how many swings. I
How
can tell
many
you how many
hundreds?
hours.
How many hours?
It was less than 3. So that's not bad.
That's so good. So now you decided to text Elijah because Elijah was here when you nailed the hole in one.
He was here, I think. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so now you texted Elijah, and what'd you say to him?
I said, Elijah, what if I hit hole in one today? Will you shave your beard or head?
Mm-hmm.
And he said he sure as heck wasn't going to shave his head. So I was like, so you will shave your beard? And he did not say no.
Oh, so here, and we'll get to Elijah obviously here today when he pops in. So my thought is, if he did not deny it,
Right.
it's on.
And Jay was in the group text. So Jay is
Mhm.
also privy to the conversation and
Okay.
lack of denial.
Did you just use Jay as a witness in this situation?
Yeah. I have I had the text pulled up. So
Okay.
if you need to see it too, to
Okay,
verify.
I believe you because
Yeah.
I mean, Dreamy Josh would never lie.
No. And I brought a battery pack for my phone
Mhm.
today so I can record the hole in one. So we have video evidence too, because we have audio evidence of the last hole in one, but I need audio and video today.
And if Elijah does shave the beard, obviously we're going to do it live.
We have to.
We have to live stream it and everything.
His beard hair is so long we could probably donate his beard hair.
Oh,
almost.
I'll take and put it on my head.
You could
I
use
will
a
take
donation.
Elijah's beard hair and put it on my head, and I could have hair again.
You could use the donation.
I will tell you this because I used to have Elijah Campbell hair. I know it's hard to believe. I had a 12-inch ponytail, my friend.
Well, I do know that you lived through the 70s and 80s, so I
80s.
do believe
let's,
that.
Let's not go to. I lived in the 80s. And
You
90s,
look like you lived
man.
through the 40s.
I feel like I lived through the 30s after I took this gig. But so there is no way if I would have my hair back in the day,
Uh-huh.
that would make a bet to shave my head. It would not have happened.
Yeah.
So I get Elijah not wanting to do that, but the beard, you can grow that back pretty quick.
It's kind of his thing. I was telling him real quick story. Like he was my suggested Facebook friend,
Mhm.
and I was like, Elijah, I think you've been hacked because you're like my suggested Facebook friend, but this dude is like clean shaven, short hair, like in a tuxedo. He's like, no, that was me and my sister's wedding like a decade ago.
Uh-huh.
I was like, all right, so it is you. Okay,
Mhm.
all right, we can be friends.
I've seen this because Jeff's kind of a creeper at times.
Yeah.
Jeff will stalk people on Facebook
Yep.
and social media. Our buddy Jeff Haley, the best account executive probably at 107.5 The Game. Would you agree with that?
I don't have anything nice to say. So.
Well, Jeff came to me, running to me and going, "Hey, have you seen this picture of Elijah on
Yeah.
Facebook?" I said, "No, I'm really not stalking Elijah on Facebook.
No.
What's up?" He goes, "Look at this guy, clean shaven, short hair."
You
And
would
so
never know.
So when Elijah came in, like a little while, I said, and we went over. He goes, "Yeah, I was at a wedding.
Yeah.
I was young, impressionable. I didn't know any better." Now Elijah looks nothing like that person.
Now that he's got a girlfriend, he's off the market. He's just kind of like, hey,
Yeah,
he found love, and he's
Yeah.
there. He is.
not shaven.
No.
No, probably not. Probably not using deodorant anymore.
Maybe he will be shaving.
Could be. So we have a bet possibly.
Yeah, we need to confirm with Elijah.
Yeah.
Maybe get him to call in or something.
Yeah,
to
we'll
confirm.
confirm this.
He'll
But we
probably
could,
be here early.
if you can get no pressure on you,
Right.
hole in one,
Yeah.
and then we can possibly have Elijah shave off that beard
Yeah.
live on the air
I think
and
we
on the
should.
live
We
stream.
totally should. It'll grow back very quickly.
Okay.
I'm gonna get to work. I already got the
Go
glove
get to
on.
it.
Here we
Go
go.
get to it. You're the man, Dreamy Josh.
Peace.
No pressure, Dreamy Josh. Nail this thing. Nail this thing. All right. So we get back to the Carolina win. You heard the wild pitch that scored the winning run for the Gamecocks last night. And it just, again, there's so many. Look, I don't want to sit here and make too much of a victory. It's baseball. It's a long season. But just the way this thing has gone, and as frustrating as it's been to this fan base, a fan base that is so passionate about baseball. and a program that its tradition is unbelievable, going back to Bobby Richardson. And the suffering that's gone on this year with, wow, we thought this was going to be a heck of a lot better. Last night was just like, oh man, I get just to enjoy this, moment. I get a nugget of happiness in what has been just an unhappy season. And that's why we're going to make a little bit too much of it, because we want to celebrate what it was. And that was just, it doesn't change the season, doesn't change the disappointment, the underachieving, doesn't change the fact this cannot happen ever again. But for a moment last night, it was fun. And let's just enjoy the fun of what happened last night. That's just feel how you want. I'm not going to tell you how to feel, but here, up until I pop off the air, just to me, I feel like it's something we should enjoy. And Coach Maneri last night, talking to the media in the post game, a good post game for Coach Maneri. And let's go to Dave. Let's snag. Where's it at here? The cut of lots of guys contributed to this victory. Here's Coach Maneri post game talking about the win.
Today we didn't give up. Scobie, of course, comes through, but his hit was, obviously a major part of the game. But there were a lot of guys that battled so hard tonight. I thought Crowther, pitched, his heart out, and then Brandon Stone did as well. He hung a couple of 0-2 breaking balls and gave up hits. But in typical Brandon Stone fashion, when I just saw him after the game, and I was talking to him about how he's got to bury that 0-2 pitch. He goes, hey, at least they didn't leave the ballpark like they usually do when I hang those 0-2 curveballs. They were only singles. Okay, how do you argue with that, right? So, but, a lot of guys did a lot of great things tonight. And, it was a wonderful win for our program, for the city, for the team, for all of our fans. And, it really was. It was a special night for us all.
A good night at the ballpark last night as South Carolina gets the win. Now you're facing some heavy pitching the next two games with two guys who are top 50 prospects in the MLB draft. Anderson, who will take the ball tonight, looked at as one of the three premier lefties in the draft. That's how good Anderson is. And so it's not going to be easy to find a way to pull one of these two out. But if you could find a way, then you win the final series of the season against the number one team in the country going into Hoover. What does that mean for the SEC tournament? Does that mean, oh my gosh, maybe everything will change and South Carolina could go on a run? Probably not. But again, you just want a good taste to end the year. You just do, because this thing has been so off the rails and so disappointing in so many ways. If you can at least end the year with some positivity going into an off season to see where this thing goes, that's something. It's not a lot of something, but it's something as we move forward. All right, softball team in action in the NCAAs against Elon, a team does not have much of an NCAA tournament history at all. South Carolina, you would hope, and again, nothing's ever set in stone. You can get that W. If everything plays to chalk, eventually you'll get a Virginia team that you played earlier in the year and had two really close games with. So obviously that won't be easy, but South Carolina's women, the softball crew, gets it started in the regional as well this weekend. So we'll see where that goes. All right, it's the extra point. Terry Ford hanging in for Tyler as we just chill here at Pro Swing. Chris Clark has shown up. Chris Clark swinging a golf club. That's interesting. By the way, now the bleeding from Josh's head, was that you? We might have a bet where we could be shaving Elijah's beard. Things are getting fun here at Pro Swing. So we'll talk about all the cool stuff they have going on here. There's packages if you want lessons. If you want just to tinker with your swing, there's a PGA Pro that can help you out with that as well. A lot of cool stuff at Pro Swing on Forest Drive in Columbia. We will swing back. The NBA playoffs last night. We have a game 7. We do. And this is interesting. We'll talk about it next on the extra point. Terry Ford in for Tyler on the game. I will tell you who sprung a leak last night, and that was Oklahoma City. Lots of leakage coming from the locker room of the Oklahoma City Thunder last night. In Denver, Nuggets force a Game 7 with a 119-107 win. And again, Denver's on their home court, and like this works out pretty much almost all the time, the script. You're at home. Your role players always step up. Julian Strawther played his college ball at Gonzaga. A guy has gotten hardly any run in this series. Strawther played 20 minutes last night. That's like 15 minutes more than he's played in the whole series. But Strawther comes off the bench, was big, scored 15 points in the second half. I think 8 in the key run of the game when Denver took control. Nuggets at home get the W. Oklahoma City had the lead at the half, and then Denver blitzed the Thunder with a 32-21 third quarter. And then the Nuggets held on and got the victory. Oklahoma City will be at home for Game 7. You know, Jalen Williams really scuffled. Was only 3 of 16. Oklahoma City in general struggled from 3. Just look, here's the bottom line. Denver is a grizzled crew. No team has played in more Game 7s over the last, 5 years than the Denver Nuggets. This is a team that won a championship a couple years ago. They've still got the core of that with Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray and Aaron Gordon. Oklahoma City, this is dangerous. I know you're at home for Game 7, but you're still the youngest team in the NBA. Yeah, you were in the playoffs. You've got some playoff experience. Last year, you got knocked out in the second round. You should be better this year. You added Isaiah Hartenstein to help fill your problem, in the paint with a physical presence. But you're going up against a bunch of dudes who they know what's up in a Game 7. And they've won Game 7s on the road, at home, in parking lots. It doesn't matter. Oklahoma City, I'm not saying they'll lose, but they got trouble. They got trouble coming. They got to go off to a good start. Keep the crowd engaged and crazy. Look, obviously, if you watch hoop, NBA is a game of runs anyway. But Oklahoma City, it would be a good idea to get off to a smooth start and build from there in that Game 7. And I would not be surprised if Denver stole it. I wouldn't. If you're Oklahoma City, I know it was on the road. And again, I know Denver's got a lot of championship metal in that locker room. But now you're dealing with a winner-take-all. Get a W or go home against a team that just won the NBA championship recently. And they still have that core of guys. So that was an interesting game last night. The Knicks tonight, this is funny. If you're just looking at this game from an outsider perspective, a media perspective, or just you like to talk basketball perspective with your buds, you almost want to say this. It feels like the pressure is on the team leading 3-2. Nobody thinks Boston can win this series now. You lost Jason Tatum to a blown Achilles. Everybody believes now it's just a matter of time till the Knicks win, because the Knicks took a 3-1 lead when you had Jason Tatum. But if you're the Knicks and you're at home and Spike Lee and Ben Stiller and all the wannabe celebrity bandwagon jumpers will be sitting courtside acting like they've been Knick fans their whole lives, jumping up and down and making noise. Ex-Knicks are in the building. The place will be electric. You need to end this thing. I mean, yeah, you've won in the Boston Garden in the series. I get it. But a Game 7's different. You don't want to screw around with this. You want to get this win at home tonight, not take this back to a Game 7 in Boston. And here's the thing. We talked about the stat yesterday. The Celtics are 8-2 without Jason Tatum this year. As good as Jason Tatum is, he's the best player on the team. They have still, because the Celtics are still very talented, they're 8-2 without Tatum. Now, in the short term, I guess why this works, Jaylen Brown has to step up and be the man and be the focal point number one option. But they have other guys who can make buckets on this team, and they seem to move the ball better, and the ball doesn't stick as much. And again with Boston, and they won an NBA title last year, shooting a ton of threes, but they shoot even more threes this year, which you're in a danger zone of live by the three, die by the three, and that's kind of what they've been in this series. So obviously Boston's got to make threes. But if you're New York, again, you want to end them tonight. So we'll see what happens there. But I do still think the Knicks win the series. I'm still gonna go with Oklahoma City at home because that's a really good home court advantage. We'll see where it goes. Other quick NBA thoughts that we didn't get to since we got a minute or two. Going back to Golden State getting knocked out by Minnesota. Look, I thought Minnesota would win the series with a healthy Steph Curry or not. But I thought obviously Golden State would make this a 6 or 7 game series with Curry. But with Golden State, you kind of see, look, can they compete with Curry? Sure. But Curry and Butler, unless something's changed, you're a year older next year. And then right now, how you're constructed, what else you got? You know, when you won championships, obviously you had Curry and Clay, Durant, Draymond. I mean, you had a star-studded roster. Draymond's also getting older. Really good defensive player this year, but offensively, Draymond doesn't bring you a whole lot these days. Jimmy showed you he was truly Robin, not Batman anymore when Curry went out. Golden State's got to figure out how to get, and you're not going to get another superstar. The 3 superstar model is kind of going away because of the way the NBA has set up their salary cap and these salary aprons and all that stuff. But they got to go get someone, preferably younger, who can be that number 3 option or at times a number 2 option for this basketball team. They got to figure out how to do it. They got to get someone if they truly want to compete for a championship. I think their window's closed as they're built right now. They got to go out and get somebody who can bring something to the table consistently for them when they need it, because they don't have that on that roster at all right now. Could it come within? Could Paz be the guy? No, I just don't think so right now. I could be wrong. Players get better. Players develop. I know he was a first-round pick, but I just don't. Watching him play, there's going to have to be a huge jump from where he's at now to be the guy Golden State needs to count on to be that number 3 guy for them behind Curry and Butler. They got to find it. They got to find him. I mean, you look at Oklahoma City, you have like a SGA, you have Chet Holmgren and Jalen Williams, and that's homegrown and a trade. You traded for Gilgeous-Alexander, and then you drafted Holmgren and Williams. That's kind of where it's the way the model is now. You've got and Golden State's drafting has not been great. Kuminga hasn't turned out. You know, a couple other their first-round picks have been So, I mean, they've got to figure it out because they need another player, or this window will just stay shut. It just will. All right, extra point. Terry Ford hanging out. Chris Clark and Wes Mitchell from Gamecock Central are going to jump in here and take it at the top of the hour. I want to circle back. I saw an article in USA Today about Lincoln Riley's contract. Yeah, we can talk about Lincoln Riley's contract, but to the lengths that we go in the world of college athletics to get contract information from private schools is interesting to me. Let's get into that next. It is the extra point. Terry Ford hanging in for Tyler. One more segment. Tyler will be back on Monday. Josh is swinging golf clubs. He's sweating profusely. Chris Clark has been banned from the simulator. We got this whole thing going at Pro Swing here on Forest Drive in Columbia. Do not forget, if you want to improve your game, there are many ways to go about it here at Pro Swing. A couple of them real quick is you can get a free 30-minute swing evaluation with the PGA Pro here at Pro Swing, and also there are lesson packages. Doesn't matter if you're just starting up from scratch or you're a scratch golfer. They can help you here at Pro Swing. Extra point. We'll talk Lincoln Riley's contract next here on the game. Terry Ford hanging in for Tyler. Tyler will be back on Monday as we roll the extra point for another segment. Real quick. All right, so South Carolina with that win last night has locked up the 15 spot in the SEC. Missouri also lost to Mississippi State. So if my calculations are correct, and we'll get the official word, South Carolina being the 15 seed will play Tuesday at 4:30 p.m. in Hoover. 4:30-ish around there. And it should be the start time for the first game or the second game, because the first game will be at 9:30 a.m. And then the second game obviously will be determined for that. But then the afternoon session will be locked in for a 4:30 start time, barring some craziness in game 2. South Carolina will play the 10th seed, and that will be a 4:30 start on Tuesday. And obviously you can hear it right here on 107.5 The Game in Columbia and our affiliate also in Myrtle Beach. So if you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, could be Mississippi State. The way things, and again, everything's fluid, obviously, but that's where it could end up in Hoover with that first game. All right. And of course, and last night, that 6-5 victory. We've been talking about it all morning. Excellent win. Now you got one in your pocket against LSU. You got a tall mountain to climb with the next 2 starting pitchers that the Tigers are going to run out there. 2 top 50 prospects in the Major League Baseball draft, but you can find a way to steal one, then you win a series against the number 1 team in the country to end the regular season. Get a little momentum going into the SEC tournament on Tuesday. One note real quick, and then I want to get to this Lincoln Riley story. We were talking about with Corey Parson about, Jacksonville taking on Carolina in week 1 and how one of the storylines of the game is quarterbacks seemingly going in different directions. It seems like Bryce Young has gained momentum for how he played once he took over the starting quarterback gig the second time during the season. And Trevor Lawrence feels like he's been falling backwards and losing momentum. And we talked about the idea that part of this problem is Trevor Lawrence plays for the Jags. And Corey even said maybe he needs to get traded to a real organization so we can see what kind of quarterback Trevor Lawrence truly is or could be. And now you're on your 3rd head coach, the disaster of Urban Meyer. Doug Peterson, you made the playoffs, and all of a sudden everything just cratered. And so now you have Liam Cohen, who did really nice work as the OC in Tampa. But remember this. Dave Canales is the guy that really got that going in Tampa with Baker Mayfield before, and Canales leveraged it into the head coaching gig in Carolina. Liam Cohen's kind of gravy training on what Dave Canales set up. Not to say Liam Cohen isn't putting in his own tweaks, his own philosophies when he was the OC in Tampa last year. But Cohen has not been an offensive coordinator in the NFL, but for 2 years. That's it. It's just he had the success that he had in Tampa last year with that offense. He was hanging around with Sean McVay a couple of different times with the Rams. 1 year as the OC, in a year that the offense was, and partly it was because of some injuries, to be fair. So Liam Cohen being hired as a head coach, we'll see. That one was a little bit of a head scratcher. Maybe Liam Cohen will be great. Maybe he'll unlock and unleash the consistent greatness that everybody thinks Trevor Lawrence has in him. We'll find out. Trevor Lawrence's contract is very team-friendly when you look at percentage of cap taken up. This year, Lawrence only takes up 6% of the cap. In 2026, 8% of the cap. 2027, 11% of the cap. And 2027 is the end of the guaranteed money. And the dead money starts to get in your favor after 2027 as well. And you start getting cap savings. So unless Trevor Lawrence is incredibly god-awful, like Deshaun Watson awful, Trevor Lawrence will be the quarterback in Jacksonville the next 3 years. So there is time for Trevor Lawrence to get his momentum back. And hopefully with the right coaching staff and the right, infrastructure around him, Trevor Lawrence can start once again showing signs of being the quarterback everyone thought he was going to be when he was drafted number 1 overall. All right, to Lincoln Riley, because this is an interesting story. USA Today posts an article and here's the headline: Southern California coach Lincoln Riley was paid $11.5 million in compensation during 2023. Lincoln Riley was credited with a little more than $11.5 million in total compensation for the 2023 calendar year. The school's federal tax return shows. The document provided by the university on Thursday in response to a request from USA Today Sports also showed Lincoln Riley has the benefit of a housing loan that has a balance due of $3.43 million, the same as the original amount. Just over $10.2 million of Riley's total compensation was categorized as base compensation, $100,000 bonus, and incentive compensation as well, nearly $1.15 million in what the tax form calls other reportable compensation. I'm going back to the USA Today article. This provides the first full look at Riley's pay as Southern Cal's head coach, including the loan. The school's return last year, which covered the 2022 calendar year pay, included amounts connected to $4.5 million buyout that USC or Southern Cal paid to the University of Oklahoma on Riley's behalf. So Southern Cal paid $4.5 million, the buyout to Oklahoma. And now you hear the other numbers. Now, has Lincoln Riley earned it? No. That's easy. No. One really good year at Southern Cal, and that's been it. Almost made the college football playoff. You win the Pac-12 championship game if you actually would have had a defense. Lincoln Riley, though, it seems like he's actually understanding that you're going to need to field a defensive unit that can actually stop someone to go along with what he is hoping is high-powered offense. But Lincoln Riley, so far, it hasn't been what Southern Cal paid for. Let's just be honest. Lincoln Riley's not going anywhere. He's going to have a couple more years to get it right. But so far, the Southern Cal Lincoln Riley tenure has not been what Trojan fans or administration or alumni or anybody was hoping for. But the thing that gets me is how you get the, you dig that deep. You do a records request to get the tax forms to see how much Lincoln Riley gets paid. That's how the deep dive can be in college sports, to go get the salary of a head coach at a private institution. It's crazy. It's just crazy. All right, Gamecock Central Takeover Hour coming up next here from Pro Swing as Josh is still trying to get a hole in one, so Elijah will shave his beard. Wes Mitchell, Chris Clark next here on the Game in Columbia, Florence, and Myrtle Beach.
is on call because at Brian's, your
Hello. Here's a sentence. All right, sounds good.
Just keep trying her, Dave.
This week's sweet deal of the week is from Scotty's Cafe and Grill. Beginning this Friday, log on to 1075thegame.com to get a $50
Okay.
gift certificate to Scotty's Cafe and Grill for just $25. Your home for the Gamecocks. 1075 The Game. WSKT Eastover, Columbia. A Cumulus media station. The Gamecock Central Takeover Hour with Tyler Head, along with Chris Clark and Wes Mitchell from Gamecock Central. Sponsored by Firehouse Subs. Call or text 803-404-6100 on the Game Network and on the 1075 The Game app.
Carolina, and we're going to go right out to our ball coach, Ashley Chastain Woodard. Coach, we've talked to you all season long. Today we're talking to you on a postseason day. It's game day. How did it feel to wake up and know that the Gamecocks are going to be hosting a regional tonight?
Feels great. It feels great. It's an exciting day for us, and I'm already at the stadium, and the kids have already come and hit, and they're going over to get a pregame listen. So the day has already been moving.
Yeah, we appreciate you making the time. I know there's a lot going on over there. Excited for you and your program today. So how do you maybe walk the line in your messaging to the team about just enjoying the stage you all have this weekend, while also from a performance standpoint, not making it too big and just kind of just playing the game they love and not maybe thinking about the platform too much?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's what we've been preaching all year. So I don't know if much of our messaging changes. I think that they just need to stay in our 5:30 game today against Elon and not think ahead. And we've been really trying to do that through series in SEC play through the year. So I think we're really prepared. I think we're prepared with our mindset. I think we're prepared physically. I think we're also, really prepared for the atmosphere because we have played in super regional feel atmospheres and matchups all year. So I hope that they walk into today feeling really confident and free and having a lot of fun, and just excited to play in front of our home fans because we have the home field advantage this weekend.
Coach, it's Chris. Thanks for taking the time, especially on game day, to join us here. And again, not trying to get too far ahead, right? Y'all have to take care of business, throughout the course of this regional, but your team was able to earn a national seed. And so obviously that means should you, win this regional, you'll be able to host in the next round. Like you said, you got the home field advantage. Your team's been great at home, 31-5 overall, I think, this year. What does that mean, and how big of an advantage do you think it is? Again, got to get through this weekend, but just to be able to potentially host in the next round as opposed to hitting the road and going to California.
I think it's huge. I think if you do the statistics, I think around 75% of teams that host end up making it to the next stage. So, I think the advantage is definitely in our favor with just being familiar with the territory and the fan base and, just kind of being able to stay at home and in our routine all week and this weekend. So, and then for us to be able to have the potential of hosting the Super and not having to cross over 3 time zones next week on an airplane, it's just a massive advantage that we don't have to adjust the time and the travel. And, we can just really focus on our routine here and our process here and have really good practice. And so I don't think that I can put into words the advantage that we have. Now, obviously, we have to capitalize that, and we have to play really well. I think this time of the year, it's about having fun, resetting. Postseason, you kind of feel like you go back 0-0 with your win-loss record because everything starts over. And but, I do think we have to play well. We have to pitch well. We have to get back to playing really great defense, which we have all year, and have some timely hits with runners on. I think we're going to definitely have to play well all weekend.
Coach, not to give away your game plan by any means, but can you give us a little insight on how you set up your pitching, at least internally, when you and the staff are having these conversations? Regionals are kind of unique. If things go to plan, you just win 3, and it's just like a weekend series for you. You drop 1, and all of a sudden things get very different very quickly. How do you kind of approach that internally and just in terms of having a plan for every contingency, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, I think we definitely want to put this one tonight in our pocket. We talk a lot about that in the series is, put the first one in your pocket and, then you have an opportunity to win the series on day 2. So it is a series feel if we stay in the winner's bracket, having different opponents, through that series. But I think from a pitching standpoint for us, we're going to have to see good performances from Lamb and Hurd. And I feel really confident about both of those guys. I think they're both in a good spot. I think Neely threw really well. I think she threw like 4.2, almost 5 innings against Alabama here at home 2 weeks ago when we finished regular season. So we really want to build off of that performance with her. And Jory looked really good game 1 against Alabama in the SEC tournament. So obviously, we want really good performances for those guys so that we can use Gress strategically. We're not in a position to where Gress can throw every game, every inning for us the rest of the way if we're going to make it to Oklahoma. So I think a key piece of our success specifically is just making sure that we put Neely Lamb and Jory Hurd in positions to be successful, and we really rely and trust them to have good outings for us this weekend.
Coach, you mentioned the defense that your team has played this year, which has been obviously outstanding. But whenever there is a moment or maybe one particular game where just some things don't go quite as well as they have for the rest of the season, maybe the game against A&M, for instance, in the SEC tournament, what's kind of the message to the team? Do you just shelve it? Is there anything extra you do in practice? Do you just kind of chalk it up to that softball and go play the next day and just kind of do what we've done all year? How do you handle that, especially, going into the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, I think our style is not necessarily just to chalk it up to softball. I think there's many different coaching styles and the way that you run your program, and not one way works. But for us, I think we definitely had conversation about our performance against A&M to finish the SEC tournament. We haven't really had a performance like that since early in the year. Actually, against Virginia, to start the year, I think was the last game we'd made 5 errors, and we've had a few performances throughout the year. We have a long season, but we did not play super well on defense, and a lot of those games were losses for us. So I think we evaluated the performance. We really talked through it with the girls on how did we get to that place. I think it was kind of a snowball effect. I think that we made a few mistakes that we let snowballed into bigger mistakes, and kind of we never stopped the snowball from getting bigger. And eventually you have to put a stop to it and say, we're going to stop the damage. We're going to stop the negative plays, and flip the script. And we just didn't do that against A&M. So our conversation is mostly mental when it comes to things like that of okay, where did our mentality break down? Because we obviously believe the mentality kind of turns physical in those moments. And then from a physical standpoint, you just get a lot of reps in. I think that's the best thing you can do for them. Let's say if your infield doesn't play well for a game, I think the best thing to do is just to get them back on the field, giving them a lot of reps, kind of feeding their confidence that, hey, we are a really good defense and we've been elite all year.
Coach, I know it's easy for fans to maybe get caught up when you see a regional announced with, all right, Virginia is the other kind of, the 2 seed. Statistically, that's kind of who you're going to battle in this thing. But Elon tonight obviously is the first step. What can you tell us just in terms of your scout of what we should be looking for in this matchup tonight?
Yeah, I mean, they won, I think, 33 games this year. I mean, they know how to win. They did well in their conference and obviously won their conference tournament. So coming off of a really hot performance for the Colonial tournament, I think there's 2 hitters in the lineup with with double-digit home runs. So obviously we've got a couple hitters just to make sure that they aren't the ones that, would beat us in an inning or like in a situation to score multiple runs or anything like that. Just kind of trying to mitigate damage with a few of their hitters that have the RBI numbers and the power numbers, which is nothing new for us because we just came off of an SEC regular season where you have to really do that 1 through 9 in the order. So I think we need to be efficient with the hitters that we need to be efficient with, and then obviously really smart with the couple hitters that could score runs for them. I think if flipping it to their pitching, they have an ace, McCard, and she has a sub-2 ERA. I obviously don't know who we will face tonight. We're a little different than baseball. We don't usually get the starter until like 30 minutes before the game starts. So we kind of have to prepare for multiple predictions on who we think will start the game. And then if you look past her, I mean, they have 6 or 7 pitchers that pitch a lot. So they're kind of all even in usage. And so that was the kind of tricky part for us this week, is just making sure that we showed a look on multiple arms that we think we could face tonight against Elon. So back to their offense, I didn't mention this. They're pretty aggressive. And so I think, for us just coming out of the dugout in the top of the first, being really like intentional about having the momentum. We know that their offense is aggressive. They're going to swing. They're going to put the ball in play. So I think that's a little different than some of the offenses that we've faced the last couple of weeks that have been more passive category. I mean, this offense is pretty aggressive when it comes to swing rate. So, just making sure we're ready for that. Like, we're ready from the first pitch that's thrown, that we're going to play really good defense and be efficient in the circle.
Coach, I mean, we could pick any of your players to be like a key person for this weekend, but I believe from what I've read, and maybe this applies more to Virginia than anything, but maybe there's some teams in the regional that are going to try to run the bases a little bit. They're going to try to be aggressive in terms of, stealing bases. How important, I know she's always important for you all, but how important is it for Lexi Winters to just have a great weekend for you all this weekend?
It's key. I mean, she's our backbone. She's thrown out runners all year, some of the fastest runners in the SEC. So I'm not worried about her throwing out the runners that we have in town this weekend. I think she'll be ready for it. She's just really good at this point. She's a veteran. She knows how to manage the game. We've worked really hard this week of balancing some recovery for Lexi Winters and then also getting her enough reps to where she feels prepared, because she has caught so much for us. And so I think overall, she feels prepared, but also fresher than she did at the SEC tournament last week. Catching is a super physical position. So I think she feels really good physically. I think mentally, she's in a great place, and I think she'll be prepared to throw out anybody that runs on her. And, we'll just make sure that we're on time for the base, and our middles put down good tags, which they have all year. So really excited to watch them perform. But she is our backbone, and she's definitely always a key piece of us winning.
Coach, we got a couple minutes here till we got a hard break. So why don't you just, if you want, take a moment, tell the fans who are maybe thinking about coming out tonight or this weekend but haven't bought their tickets yet, what are they going to see from your Gamecock program this weekend? And I know you'd love to maybe make some new Gamecock fans if they're in town and thinking about coming out and checking you guys out.
Yeah, I mean, it's the biggest stage in college softball, and I think that we are going to feed off of the energy of the crowd. We have done that all year. So it's going to be an awesome atmosphere. We're almost at sellout capacity. So I think it's going to be a really big crowd. It's going to be a lot of people, a lot of white towels, a lot of sandstorm. It's going to be a lot of fun. So bring your kids, bring your family. It's a great atmosphere for families. And it's going to be really great performance on the field. It's some of the best softball in the country. And we would love to have everyone out at Beckham.
Coach, great stuff as always. We can't thank you enough. Wish you all the luck this weekend. Go get those 3 wins, and we'll talk to you soon, okay?
Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it.
All right, she is South Carolina softball coach Ashley Chastain Woodard. Gamecocks taking on Elon tonight, 5:30, game 1 of that regional. If you heard her, they're almost sold out. So if you've been thinking about it, go ahead, buy those tickets, get out there and check them out. All right, we got to take a quick break. We're live here at Pro Swing. I am Wes. He is Chris. When we come back, Gamecock baseball. Chris getting a big win in game 1 of the series, South Carolina versus LSU. Felt a little different yesterday, Chris. So we'll break that down and talk about, hey, can Carolina steal a series win from number 1 LSU as they are back in action today? So we'll be right back here live from Pro Swing. You're listening to the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour.
All right, everyone, we are live, as you've heard, out at Pro Swing, and they got TVs everywhere in here, a lot of AV equipment, and it's provided by the guys over at Integrated Media. A lot of the same guys, Michael, Nathan, their team from Integrated Media, also part of the operation here out at Pro Swing. Right behind Wes and I, we have a giant 90-something inch television. Maybe you don't need that out at your home, but if you want a new TV, if you want to trick out that man cave, if you want to have an outdoor patio set up, or anything that you made at your home from an AV standpoint, the guys over at Integrated Media can do it for you. They have been to my home. They've been to Wes's home. They can handle everything from TVs to making sure your internet signal is strong throughout your home, Sonos wireless speakers, and complete smart home systems where you can control everything from the touch of a button on your phone, even your thermostat. IntegratedMediaInc.com or 803-948-8327, Integrated Media.
All right, welcome back live from Pro Swing out here on Forest Drive. Wes Mitchell here, Chris Clark. Again, shout out South Carolina softball. Appreciate Ashley Chastain Woodard for hopping on with us there last segment. We're going to turn the page a little bit to some Gamecock baseball, getting a big win yesterday over LSU. And, man, Chris, this thing had the makings of some of those games we've seen South Carolina lose this year where you're going, they've played pretty well tonight. What's going to happen when it becomes time to actually go make a play to win this game? And they're down early, they bounce back, cut the lead in half, then they're down 3-1, then they tie it up 3-3. They have some momentum, then LSU goes up, then they chop into that lead, and then you're going, all right, is this just going to be once again too little, too late? And you get the huge hit from KJ Scobie, then Jace Woida, and then you win it on just a weird play that you'll take every single time, right? A wild pitch there at the end. But I'm not going to say it felt like 2010 because there were way, way, way too many empty seats for that to be the case. But this is a game as much as this group of guys, because I think it's important to remember they are still trying to win. They're trying their best, and it just has not gone their way this year. We'll see if they can win the series, because in baseball you win series, not games. But still, that had to just be a breath of fresh air moment for these kids to get that win and be able to celebrate it yesterday.
Yeah, it's not, if you're taking kind of the pessimistic route and you can say, okay, big deal. It's one win. It's not even a series win. Let's see what happens the rest of the series. And West, frankly, even, if they could sweep LSU at home and it doesn't have implications for, say, your postseason prospects, right? Unfortunately. That said, this is the type of game that you have been against the team that's the number one team in the country, right? This is the type of game that you've been on the opposite end of so many times. And frankly, you and I were trading a couple messages during the game last night. We were both watching, talking about some things. You were a little ahead of me, spoiling a couple of the things, no biggie. But, you're sitting there going, all right, man, they have played pretty well. Like the pitching, right? Like you've got some strong pitching performances. Can you scratch across enough runs? All of the ingredients actually for yet another letdown were there. Mm-hmm. You even had the added, not benefit. You had the added storyline of Michael Braswell coming in and getting some hits,
which he does against South Carolina.
He does.
First of all, stop booing this dude. I say that tongue in cheek. You can boo him all you want, but stop booing this dude because he crushed you in the SEC tournament.
Yeah.
And now, did they say he hasn't had a 3-hit game all year? I think that's
they
correct.
Said that. Yeah.
And then he comes through with 3 hits. Yeah. Stop. They need a don't boo Michael Braswell sign.
The don't boo Navy thread on the Insider Store.
Don't boo Michael Braswell.
Yeah.
Please.
Let's just see what happens if you don't. Maybe it just reverts to.
Maybe just cheer him.
Yeah.
He won't know what to do.
It'd be very confusing. But you had all of it, right? You've played pretty well, but not well enough. You've had, hey, here's some opportunities, but you can't scratch a run across in a key situation. You had, are we going to fall 1 run short? You even had the ball that was hit well into the outfield that the guy makes a great diving, Jared Jones, I think, great diving catch on and doubles off Scobie, who then appeared to get banged up. It's just like, all right, are we going to get doubled off and have another player hurt on top of
that? Was the
else?
microcosm of the season play right there.
Exactly.
I was like, oh man, his shoulder is done.
Right. So, but to their credit, and Wes, they've been on the receiving end of some weird plays, like they had, some bad fortune, whatever. They've been on the other end of that too, and so those things actually, I don't even say went their way. Like they made the plays at the end of the day to go win the game. And you saw how happy the team was. Paul Maneri didn't have much of a reaction. He talked about that a little bit after the game, but you got to feel good for them. It's been a trying season, and they finally got a result against a really good team.
I haven't watched the press conference. What was his comment on his reaction? Was so Alyssa Lang was doing the studio show after Carolina, and they were talking, like, they took quite a bit of notice of Maneri's reaction, which was complete blank face. What did he say? Like, he looked like he was stunned, but I don't.
No,
I don't know.
think. Well, so I'll say what he actually said, but I'll also give my take. Without trying. I don't want to put words in his mouth. To me, it was kind of like in soccer when if you score against your former team, you don't really celebrate, unless there's like a bad ending type of thing. Like you don't make a big deal about it, because it's kind of like disrespectful. I think Paul Maneri,
Is that a thing in soccer?
It is, yeah. So you don't want to he's probably not jumping up and down for that reason. He's also not jumping up and down because it's one game.
Yeah.
Your season overall has been tough. Can you imagine the reaction if he's celebrating like they just won the Natty, among Gamecock fans? The other thing is,
then you get blown out the next 2 games after doing that.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That just adds to it. But his explanation actually made sense. I mean, and you probably saw at the end of the game, Wes. I mean, you saw the reaction, and Monty Lee comes back into the dugout, comes down, they shake hands. That's about it. And the players are celebrating. And so Maneri said after the game, look, when I was first getting into coaching, I ride every high and low. I'm jumping up and down, so to speak, on every pitch, on every hit. And, he basically just said, I'm older now. I've seen a lot. And it's the kids' moment to go celebrate. I don't need to go do that at this point in my career. So, look, I'm sure he was. I think Maneri still cares, right? So,
yeah,
when they lose and they've had a tough season, it's not good for him. And he's happy when they win, but it's just different. You're not going to go out there and run around. Let the kids do that. That's how he explained it.
Well, he also had a great reaction to the Nathan Hall kind of looked like kind of a jam job, little slow liner, and the LSU first baseman makes a great diving catch, and they happen to pan over to Maneri, and you could tell his face just like, you got to be kidding me. Like, here we go again. And because Carolina, after the Woida, triple is, I mean, the game is there, like, to be won.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going, all right, they kind of wiggled off the hook a little bit. You're going, is this, because I'm going, if you don't win the game here in the 9th, you're probably not winning. Like, this is your best chance to go win this game. And, I will say this, as much as there is talk about, hey, the program is in the dumps, the program this, the program that, you look at the record certainly is what it is. Not that one game, like I think yesterday was just an example of it. But, man, there are some guys on this team, and I don't care what the rest of it looks like next year in terms of who, what, when, where, and why. There are some guys on this roster you got to find a way to keep because you don't play freshmen in this league and try to harden them and develop them to just watch them walk out the door and go somewhere else at the University of South Carolina. So, you look at Bo Hollins, you look at KJ Scobie, Gavin Braylon to an extent, but certainly those 2 guys, man, it's not like this team is devoid of talent. I think you have to do everything in your power to not. I know people are like, just push the reset button on everything. No, if you have talent at certain spots and you have young talent, and then you have some guys, Jace Woida came in as a JUCO. He has eligibility left. Henry Kazmar, who has actually come on very strong lately, probably had the best game we've seen him have in terms of offense and defense. You could get him back for another year and plug him in. Your lineup itself is not as far off as the record would tell you. Now, what you're really missing is those elite pitchers that you've seen in SEC play. So I don't think you need to say we have to blow up this entire lineup.
Yeah, you got to keep some of the pieces that have been best for you that are not what they are going to be. Like, they've shown you those glimpses. Some of them are coming on. Can you got to find more consistency. There's not just one answer to the problem. When you've had a season like this It's not as simple as all hit reset. Let's have an entirely new team. I think there is going to be a different looking team next year, but you do want to have some of those guys that have been so critical for you this season. And you're right, Wes. Paul Maneri's talked about this. I mean, frankly, whatever you think of what he said this season, some of his quotes, whatever, I think we can agree on this. They need more guys that can hit the ball out of the ballpark. They need more guys that have big arms. LSU brings a guy in throwing 100 in the middle of the game. KJ Scobie's battling him,
Yep.
and that's what you need.
Yep. All right, we got to take a break. We're here live, Pro Swing. He's Chris. I'm Wes. We'll be right back.
Our friends over at Game Day Men's Health can help you as a man reclaim your vitality. If you've got some symptoms like muscle loss, fat gain, if you are having trouble sleeping at night, if you're feeling tired throughout the day, maybe go get tested out at their Man Cave style clinic. They have testing that is available to you that same day, 15 minutes or so. You can wait after you get your testing done in their Man Cave style clinic, complete with snacks, complete with drinks, and then get some answers as to whether or not treatment may be an effective option for you. Really friendly team over there with Dennis, Rob, Candace, and the rest of the crew. GameDayMen'sHealth.com, and their clinic is located conveniently in Northeast Columbia, right near I-77 and 2 Notch Road, 115 Atrium Way. Give them a call, 803-265-3161, or GameDayMen'sHealth.com to get your personalized treatment plan today.
108. All right, welcome back. Wes Mitchell, Chris Clark. We are live from Pro Swing 4708 Forest Drive. You can't miss us. Can't miss Josh over here swinging on the same hole for hours at a time. Perfectionist over here. Come see us. Great place to hang out. Get a few swings in. You can work on your swing without being out in the weather. Just, I can't imagine a better golf simulator anywhere.
There's not.
Definitely none in Columbia.
Get your swing analyzed too, which is
Yeah,
awesome.
I don't want to do that, though. I'd be like, get out of here, you baseball, softball player. But anyway, man, like we were talking about, Gamecocks get a big win yesterday in baseball. And if you haven't been paying attention, which apparently I have not been, you may have missed. This is actually a pretty big day in South Carolina athletics. So, as we have talked about, South Carolina baseball, chance to clinch a series win against number 1 LSU. Gamecock softball opens up regional play today. Gamecocks women's golf starts round 1 of the national championship. And then Gamecock track is competing for an SEC championship as well. So, pretty busy day across the spectrum of South Carolina athletics today, Chris.
Really busy one. Lots of sports doing quite well. So congrats. I mean, women's golf team, and they've got some talent on that team. I think ranked number 3, Wes, going into the NCAA championship. So Coach Kaylin Anderson, who I think is on with Jay a good bit here on the game. I mean, they've got senior All-Americans. They've got basically Wes, a super freshman, and Ela Galitsky. I mean, they've got some amazing talent on that team. So, and all the other things going on. So, big day.
Yeah, for sure. And in other news around South Carolina sports, Gamecock basketball alum Larry Davis is heading back to the Midlands. Will be the next head coach at Brooklyn Casey High School, according to our guy Lou Bajak of the state. Shout out Lou. Let's see. Do we got any other news, notes, tidbits for the folks out there? I think that's about it. Recruiting-wise, Chris, we are now 2 weeks away. I feel like we track this thing all off season. We track the big recruiting weekends that are coming up, and it feels like they're just months and months away. Then all of a sudden, boom, the June recruiting grind is upon us. And so now today we are officially 2 weeks away from that first big weekend for South Carolina. And the Gamecocks will look to, I would say, make a dent in the Carter Meadows recruitment. I think that's a guy people, at least from what I've seen on our message boards, are starting to talk about a little bit more. 5-star edge guy. You've got kind of a South Carolina versus Big Ten battle there. And the Gamecocks hoping that Sterling Lucas can once again pull a just huge recruiting win there with the Carter Meadows recruitment.
Yeah, 5-star guy. I mean, On3 has him as the number 6 prospect overall in the country. There's actually not – it's a little bit of difference, more so than some guys who are 5-star types. Not a consensus 5-star guy, but I think you look at him and he's a guy that could end up being that by the end of the process. On3 very high on him. And one of these guys that Sterling Lucas has gotten involved with, kind of been involved with almost quietly, like doing his work under the radar. As you pointed out, Wes, the Gamecocks are the only SEC program that seems to be really high on his list. Does that end up giving South Carolina an advantage? We'll see. Definitely a Big Ten flavor there. But Sterling Lucas has certainly been in his share of big recruiting battles. So he'll be on campus. So will some other guys. Few weekends throughout the month of June. And I think, Wes, if we're to kind of go back to what Gamecock fans are talking about, I think South Carolina fans have been waiting for recruiting to pick back up from an activity standpoint, whether it's just guys actually being on campus and landing some more commitments, right? And so a lot of people are going, hey, 5 verbal commitments, like you're obviously off to a good start with the guys that you've got in the boat. When will we get more? Wes, honestly, I look at it as there's going to be more activity. this summer is going to be crucial for that. I'm not too hung up right now on the number of commitments because if you look across the country and even the SEC, numbers are pretty similar to a lot of the schools. Texas, who, annually recruits extremely well, have a huge NIL budget. They've got a very similar class actually to South Carolina. They do have a 5-star commitment, but they got 6 commitments overall. Arkansas has 15, right? So people may be going around going, oh, look at Arkansas. They're off to a hot start. Their class is ranked behind South Carolina, though. So the numbers don't matter as much right here sitting in May. I think the key is they've gotten off to a good start. They need this summer to give them some momentum with prospects, whether they decide at the end of the summer or ultimately later in the process. The summer is going to be key in official visit season.
Yeah, and I think those little – so recruiting does happen in spurts, but those little spurts where you'll get, doesn't it seem weird how you'll get like Carolina will get 3 commits in a row, 4 commit. Sometimes, I remember, I think this was a Muschamp weekend. It's happened with Beamer too, potentially, but there'll be like 5 commits in a matter of like 3 days. But it's really not even, sometimes it's coming off of official visits and stuff, but typically, especially these days, the commitments don't necessarily come while guys are on campus or even shortly after, and guys want to announce at different times, and all these different things are at play. And so you'll kind of go a long stretch, frankly, where it'll be quiet, and then you'll have that stretch where it'll just be one after the other. And it's very unpredictable. Like, you can look at individual recruitments and try to predict. Even this can be unpredictable, but you can at least there's sourcing, there's information on where a guy's going to go. That's one part of it. Just in terms of that momentum, it's not always predictable in terms of when that is going to happen. And I think for Carolina, certainly the real thing that's going to matter, how many of these guys can you close on? Who cares when you get them? Who cares what order? Who cares, if it's now or 2 months from now or on site? You look at a guy who we've talked about here on the show quite a bit, Malik Clark. If you looked at that situation, he committed to Florida State on the day of Carolina's media golf tournament leading into last season. You were going, well, that's a miss. Would have loved to have that guy. By the end, he's signing with the Gamecocks. So it is not a sprint. It is certainly a long process, and it's just not over until it's over in terms of these guys.
Yeah, it's not. And Beamer's talked about that one publicly. And, Malik Clark's out there in the spring game, catching touchdowns, making plays. So you can't get too high or too low. And it's not even about, Wes, the guys that you miss on. Ultimately, there are certain guys where you're like, this could be a game changer, right? But at the end of the day, it's about who's actually in your class. Sometimes we get a little too hung up on the guys that you don't have in the class. What type of class do you have in December when they're putting pen to paper? That's what matters.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll close things out here. You are listening to Gamecock Central Takeover Hour live from Pro Swing. Come see us on Forest Drive, get in a few swings. Tell Josh about his swing and how it looks. Oh, Josh, that's not very nice. All right, we'll be right back. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour. All right, y'all. This episode brought to you by our friends, presented by our friends over at Firehouse Subs. Hit up firehousesubs.com or download the Firehouse Subs app. Hit the Rapid Rescue to go. Almost lunchtime. Go ahead, order now. It's going to be waiting for you right there on the shelf. By the way, you already have your favorites, I know, but if you have not tried these 2 new limited time hook and ladder subs, you need to go check them out right now. The Zesty Garlic Hook and Ladder, and of course, the Spicy Dill Hook and Ladder. We've been telling you about them for a few weeks now. Spicy Dill Hook and Ladder features that Last Dab pickle, which is a dill pickle marinated in the Reaper hot sauce. That is the one. If you like spicy, I promise you, this one is going to bring it. If you're like me and you like hot sauce, but just like the flavor, want something a little bit more mild, the Zesty Garlic Hook and Ladder is for you. With garlic, Fresno hot sauce, crispy garlic chips, marinated onions, all with a milder heat. Whichever one is for you, order it now. FirehouseSubs.com and the Firehouse Subs app. All right, welcome back in. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour. Wes Mitchell, Chris Clark, live from Pro Swing. Closing things out. Chris, this has gotten a little bit of pub this week. Gamecocks learning what Vegas thinks about them. And, you know, I think whenever the over-unders for win totals come out, always interesting to see the difference in maybe what the fan base is anticipating, their expectations, what our expectations are here locally, and then the people that sometimes really know. They didn't know last year, but sometimes really know, and that's out in Vegas. Now, I do think with these win totals, man, it is important to remember. I look at this as kind of like, so all right, they set the win total for South Carolina, the over-under, at 7.5 wins, which, you know, I know the reaction. That's tied for 7th in the SEC. The reaction is going to be, that's way lower than I thought. But if you look at this for what it is, an over-under on wins, then it's got to be high enough and it's got to be low enough that you're going to get action on both sides of this thing. So I look at an over-under of wins of 7.5 more like this is a team that Vegas realistically looks at it and says, obviously they can win 7 games, but realistically they can win 6 games, 7 games, 8 games, or 9 games. And then now anything less than that, you're probably talking about a little bit more of a statistical outlier in terms of what their expectation is. Anything more, more than 9, if you start talking about 10, 11, that would certainly be outside of the scope of sort of what, not that they're predicting, but what that projection tells you. And so, even the highest number on this page, which is a tie, Alabama, Georgia, and Texas, which if you said shut your eyes and tell me who Vegas has the highest number on, I would have said Texas. Theirs is just at 9.5 wins. So that, even in a vacuum, I think is a little bit lower than you would maybe think, but you have to look at these projections, these over-unders for what they are.
Yeah, you do. And I mean, even for Vegas, this is kind of hard, right? Like Shane Beamer talks a lot, and he said this about last season specifically. Hey, we told our team we're going to be in a lot of fourth quarter games. And, coaches do love to say that, but it was absolutely true last year. Like looking through what happened on the schedule last year, Wes, they had 6 games that were fourth quarter games, and Carolina lost 3 of them. They lost the LSU game, they lost the Bama game, they lost the Illinois game, but they ended up winning 3 others, right? So if you look at it, that could have easily been. Now, first of all, South Carolina, if they had won against LSU and Bama, they would have been playing Illinois in the Cheez-It Bowl. They would have been playing in the playoff, or even just one of them, as we've said. But nonetheless, working off the stuff that we do have, they could have easily lost 6 games because they were fourth quarter. They ended up winning them, right? So you're right. Like, unless it's a team where you're just like, this team's absolutely loaded, maybe they have an easy schedule, maybe they play in a conference that's not as strong, you feel more comfortable, even if you're Vegas, slapping a higher win total. For a bunch of schools, they're kind of in that middle pack. And even the schools they think the highest of, Georgia, Bama, Texas, you've got the same win total, and it's not like, oh, they're going to win 11 games, right? It's hard to say that for anybody.
Yeah, and I think when you look at these things, you're talking about, so most teams, like, I'm not saying a team can't be clutch because there are clutch teams. Most of the time, though, I think if you look at those close games, you look at fourth quarter games. I mean, Carolina, and I thought Carolina was a team that did play pretty well late in games at times, especially as the year went on.
Mm-hmm.
But they split them. So in theory, over time, if you play a lot of close games, you're going to get closer and closer to 50%, I think, in those games, just in general, if you're talking about a random team. And so, I think you have to look at, if Vegas says we're setting the over-under for Bama at 9.5 and they win 11 games, that doesn't mean, oh, Vegas was wrong. Like, these are not projections. These are just where they're setting. They're giving you something to work off of.
Yep.
So, and ultimately for them, they want for that number to be low enough that somebody says, Bama's going to win. Bama's going to win 11 games easily. Let me put my money down.
Mm-hmm.
And they want for that little half on there to be like, well, Bama won 9 games this past season. Can they get to 10? No. You know what? I'm going under. So I think not that I'm into gambling or anything like that, but I do think these numbers get talked up, I think, among fans for more than they truly mean, I think.
Yeah, a little bit more of literally Vegas thinks South Carolina is going to win 7.5 games type of thing, as opposed to, cleverly placing a betting line.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. I did think it interesting, Wes, that probably not surprising.
That Vandy's not last?
Well, they are, I think, 4.5. I think they're second to last, tied with Kentucky. Kentucky, probably important year for Mark Stoops.
Dude, I was talking to somebody yesterday. Kentucky might be in trouble.
Think so?
I mean, look at what they did last year. Have they solved?
Have they really upgraded in the offseason?
Have they solved quarterback?
Yeah.
We'll see. They lost a lot of people from last year's team.
And Mississippi State was actually the lowest in the conference, which makes sense. They very much struggled last year. Jeff Leaby's first season there in Starkville. It's hard to kind of envision them in the SEC jumping from the bottom to even the middle, right? I mean, you can. Seems like it's a tough path, though.
Yeah, it is. It is. All right, man, let's close this thing out. Big weekend for Gamecock Athletics. Terry, we're handing this thing back to you, right? Terry is shaking his head yes. Terry will be back. What are you about to talk about, Terry? He doesn't know yet. So just tune in and find out. How about that? Appreciate. Nobody wants to hear that. All right, y'all. Appreciate you joining in, and we're out. He's Chris. I'm Wes. This has been the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour. Come out, see us live, Pro Swing here on Forest Drive. Y'all have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday.